movement was begun by a scientist who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered.
A kill list was intercepted. It says everyone in this room will be dead. You're number 2 on the list. Well, who's number 1?
An unknown, a civilian.
Lookoutfa Charlie.
I want him dead.
On August 11, 2015, 29-year-old Jesse Farber called his girlfriend in a panic and conveyed to her that he was being chased by coyotes. Farber was walking in the Tamaqua, Pennsylvania area near a place called the Coal Hills when he said a pack of coyotes chased him up a tree. Craig Freer. According to his girlfriend, she watched as he walked towards his car, but then at the last minute darted off in the opposite direction. What had scared Craig, and why had he run away from his car? Surely, if he was in danger, the best thing to do would be to head to the car and drive away or go back inside. A group of teenagers came forward to tell the police that they had seen Craig, or at least someone matching his description, walking along the railroad tracks behind his girlfriend's apartment complex shortly after he was seen entering the woods. It appears that they tried to engage him in conversation, but he motioned for them to be quiet and then just kept on walking. Terrence Woods, Jr. was working as a TV production assistant in conjunction with the Discovery Channel and was out on location in Idaho. Unfortunately, one night while filming, Terrence ran off into the woods and hasn't been seen or heard from since. Dennis Shepard. 46-year-old Dennis Shepard was described as an energetic and lively person. Dennis worked as a personal assistant in Port Washington, New York, and was doing well in his career and his private life. That was until a sudden onset of paranoia sent Dennis down a dark path. He became convinced that everyone he knew was working with the FBI to conspire against him.
My last video was called Anatomy of the Modern Manchurian, and in that I explained how a subject can be manipulated to do things that they would never normally do, how they are manipulated, and how a powder keg scenario is created to guide them along on a path. This video is going to attempt to explain how people are guided along on a path and how sound weapons can be used without voices, with just sound. There are hundreds and hundreds of examples of those sound weapons being used out in the woods, and the subjects or victims do not know what it is. Sound doesn't have to be voices. It can be animals, creatures, footsteps, similar to what people experience in artificial haunting cases. The subjects almost never see anything, and when they do, these visualizations always vanish. And not by walking away, they just vanish. So when you understand the capabilities of the technology that is being used and or tested, as well as old technology like Bluebeam type tech, this is not very hard to understand. It doesn't matter where you are in the world these days. Because of the technology that few people are aware of, someone knows where you are. It is picking you up seismically with frequencies, like two cans in a string held tight. 2 legs, 4 legs, it knows what type of mammal you are, and it can alert to bipeds, along with two-way sound projection. I believe this technology was originally intended to guide lost people out of the woods or the desert, but went dark a long time ago and has been fully weaponized. And they use it on people regularly, just like all the voice hearers in the cities today. There's no difference in the two, except it may not be projected into the skull or home, but it's projected into the subject's immediate area. So why somebody out in the woods? Because there are minimal witnesses? This usually happens to one person, if they become separated from their group or go off alone intentionally. If something happens to go wrong, it's the lone person's word against the world. In a lot of these cases, the tech appears to be used to see if they can guide a person along a predetermined path, like a video game character, totally being controlled while in a panic without the subject ever realizing what is happening. And this is what I'm going to attempt to explain to you. You must understand this because it is being used in urban areas more and more these days, and it shows by the examples that I showed you. Sounds rather than voices, and if it's used correctly, they are just as dangerous as voices. Just like the example where the dude told the teenagers to shh, motioned for them to stop talking because he thought he was being followed by something. And then, ultimately, out of fear, lack of sleep, bewilderment, desperation, the subject will often do something incredibly stupid or out of character to get away. And in these cases, we often never hear from that person again. I mean, there are cases and cases and cases of this. And it always starts with these lone hikers or people who went off alone. But they never see anything. So here is how a subject would be manipulated along a certain path without them knowing it. Here, the star is the subject. And in this case, let's pretend this is typical north, south, east, and west, and the subject is traveling westward. Alright? So, as they are traveling, they may hear something behind them, always coming from a direction, not right on top of them. So they hear something behind them. They only really have one way to travel, and that is this way. So they will begin to get away from the noise, not quite sure what it is yet. It may be walking, it may be any number of sounds. They don't know what it is, so they attempt to get away from it at first. At this point, they may cross an area, and the sounds will continue to push them in a direction. Now, once they've got in this area, there's water on this side, so this isn't being worried about. The sound will continue to be projected so they do not travel north into the woods. It will be behind them and upward to push them along on a path, knowing that there's water here and they're going to end up over here anyway. So this continues and continues, and the sounds will increase in intensity. Here it could go either way, so the sounds will get closer. Here, very close, because they are attempting to push this person in a direction. And then here, from both sides. And a lot of people describe this as being flanked. And they'll hear things running up on them and doing things on each side. And all that is creating a funnel effect to push the person in a certain direction. That's the game. You're almost walking somebody to their death. So let's say that the goal is to get a person on this little island right here. These sounds will continue on each side to funnel them there. Once they're there, that is when the sounds will start to circle in every direction. And this way, the person cannot leave. And this can happen for hours or days or long periods of time so that they feel trapped. There's a story about a guy, and I can't remember his name right now, but he was a hiker that they found dead in his tent. And he was literally just in his tent and dead. And I believe that this is what was done to him. And this is done a lot, where these sounds are projected and it just circles and circles. And if you know anything about sound, this is very, very easy to do. This is how you can funnel somebody along on one of these paths, and they are being directed to a certain area without them even knowing it. And then when the person does something stupid to get away from it, you never hear from them again. It's very, very, very easy to do. And they don't even realize that it's happening when it's happening. And again, when you talk to these people, no one ever sees anything. They always just hear something. It's amazing. And once the person is trapped in a certain area, the sounds will intensify and intensify, getting scarier and scarier. And not only does that keep them trapped in a certain area, but when they do something stupid, it's going to be very, very desperate. Like swimming across an entire area to get away from it. Like a distance that they could never swim. You know, and there may be predators or something in that water or in the woods. They just put themselves in bad situations to get away from it. And then we never hear from them again. The people that have survived, they tell the stories, you know, like the girl that went hiking years ago and could hear it practically breathing on her back, but never saw it. Always the same thing. So these people are being scared purposely to get lost and or to be funneled, pushed along like a chess piece, experimenting. How can we push this person along a path without them realizing it? So when you're watching these videos about people who went missing and were never found, or people who got away and tell the story, pay attention and come back and watch this video, and I guarantee you it is going to make more and more sense than ever. Pay attention to when they say, I saw something, I didn't see something, or I just heard something. They almost always just hear something. And when they do see something, it just vanishes, like blue beam style technology. It doesn't walk away, it just fades away or vanishes. It's very, very, very suspect. And if you don't know this channel is one big body of evidence. If you're going to try to understand this technology, go through the entire channel. At least watch some of the videos. And that's it for now. Look out for Charlie. That's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
Oh man, I like this kid. This fucking guy's crazy.
Look out for Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.